Hey, I'm NichBoy and welcome to Pocket for Friday, the 15th of April. Today on the show, Dutch computing, Bond gets the Doom treatment, and I answer some of your questions. Alright, here's what's been making headlines. Blizzard's servers suffered an attack yesterday afternoon, which lasted several hours. DDoS attacks flooded the game servers, leaving people unable to access World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Diablo 3, the lot of them. A Blizzard rep assured people on the World of Warcraft forums that there was no actual account information, payment information, or character data at risk. A group has come forward claiming responsibility. They have a name, but we'll just call them shitheads. Moving on now to more positive news. And Dutch scientists from the Aarhus University in Denmark have created an app called Quantum Moves, which makes mobile users a supercomputer. By manipulating fluid-based physics puzzles, users are demonstrating how much better the human mind is at understanding physics than modern software and computing. Indeed, the results have already proven to be far more efficient than software-driven methods. The data collected from this app, which is available for free on iOS and Android, will go towards the development of quantum computing. The Final Fantasy IX PC port launched today, 16 years after its initial launch on PS1. The HD release features more than just an up-res of the movies and character models too. There are 7 booster modes which manipulate how the game plays out, including a high-speed mode and a no-encounter mode which removes random encounters from the game. Which is amazing. If every JRPG offered that mode as a way to play, I would play all of your games. You are slowly moving forward, JRPGs. Coming to the light, baby! Activision has a new Ghostbusters game on the way, and it's set to launch on the 12th of July. The top-down co-op game will tie in neatly with the launch of the reboot film, which will be in cinemas on the 15th of July. The game doesn't ape the new film though, as it introduces an entirely new group of rookie Ghostbusters who are tasked with keeping New York City ghoul-free. And some classic games are hitting virtual store shelves in the next week. Bandai Namco announced that their classic catalog is getting yet another release. Pac-Man, Galaga, Ms. Pac-Man, and Dig Dug will be hitting the PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam marketplaces on the 20th of April. In the announcement, Namco noted that each arcade classic release will feature HD resolutions and have support for leaderboards as well as trophies and achievements. Alright, now it's time for Thing of the Day. I'm a pretty boy. Here's Thing of the Day. Demo the Man has spent 12 hours rebuilding the classic Nintendo 64 shooter GoldenEye into the even more classic PC shooter Doom. Disappointingly, the 12 hours didn't afford him enough time to code in the damn mission's amazing bungee animation, but it's still an impressive feat. Here's Thing of the Day. Alright, let's ask some pockets. Our first question comes from the pocket of Catastrophe Game, who wants to know, do you think any types of games are particularly poorly suited to streaming, and if so, what kind? Catastrophe? I think about this often. I think it depends on what you're watching the streamer for in the first place. If you're there to watch sick 360 no-scopes, then you're gonna love when a pro streams Call of Duty multiplayer for hours at a time. But if you're watching because you want to be engaged by the actual streamer, then shooters might not be the best option because they require so much constant focus. I streamed Battleborn yesterday and I had a lot of fun with it, and a big part of that was thanks to teaming up with Pocketeers to run the missions, but that meant I wasn't as present with the chat as I usually would be, and my engagement with the game was from a pure mechanical standpoint. So yeah, I think that most games can probably be streamed, you just have to want to watch someone play that game. The only games that I would say don't really fit that bill are puzzle games. Something like The Witness. It's not ideal because so much of that game is just staring at the screen, doing nothing, waiting for the solution to click in your brain. And because the chat is 30 seconds behind you, they're frustrated because they're yelling advice, but you can't read it yet, and by the time you do read it, you don't know what they're talking about because you've moved on to a different part of the puzzle. I actually dread coming up to puzzles in games when I live stream them because I sort of just instantly slip into the mindset of, okay, there's a puzzle here, therefore there must be an answer. This puzzle is solvable. Unfortunately, a couple of hundred people are watching me struggle with this right now, so instantly I get performance anxiety. And then it's like, okay, well they want you to solve the puzzle now, but at the same time they're all talking and wondering why it's taking you so long, and all I want to do is kind of just go quiet and just look at the puzzle for a while and just think about it. But no one just wants to watch a man sit quietly in front of a computer screen not playing a game. You came here to see someone play the game. So then that means I need to keep playing the game. And by playing the game, it means just putting in solutions, even if I know they're wrong, just so there's something to react to. But then every time I do a wrong decision, the chat's like, oh god, Nick keeps getting this wrong. But actually what I'm doing is splitting my brain in half, and half of me is talking and doing these wrong solutions, and the back half, the lizard part of my brain, is just trying to figure out a little moments of peace and quiet so that I can answer the puzzle in my own brain. So then I go, okay, well maybe I'll look at the chat, because maybe in the chat there's like a really good question that I can just bounce off and answer and buy myself some time. So I look down into the chat, and all I see is that people going, oh yeah, I solved this puzzle yesterday, this one was really easy. And I'm like, that's not helping, man. That's not helping at all. It must be really easy to solve puzzles while there's not just hundreds of people sitting there staring at you, and you're doing this whole song and dance. Does everybody like what Nick is doing right now? And so then I'm going, well, why am I even here? I could have been a lawyer. 7! The answer is 7! So then I just plug in 7, and I'm so excited because 7 was the answer. And then I look down at the chat, and I just want some praise. I just want people to love me at that point. And I look down, and it's just, oh yeah, Nick's taken really long with that one. That one was pretty easy. So yeah, puzzles and puzzle games can die in a fire. Our next question comes in from Jespo Jojo, who wants to know, how long does it take you to wardrobe, hair, and makeup for each episode? Jespo Jojo. Thank you for noticing. Look, the clothes are taken care of before I even get to work. These are just my home clothes. I know I look TV ready, but this is all just pure Nick. So let's say it takes me 60 seconds to get dressed. Then there's the hair. And honestly, the hair just does its own thing. I wake up in the morning, sometimes it agrees to cooperate, sometimes it feels like it wants attention. There's no product, I don't own a brush or a hairdryer or a comb. Those things just anger it. It's 2 to 3 runs of the fingers through it, then I make my peace with what it's gonna do that day. So let's say that's 15 seconds there, so that's 75 seconds total. Then there's makeup, and makeup is done here at work. So I have this little unit here. I just kind of pat myself down a bit so I'm not too shiny. That takes 30 seconds, maybe a little longer if I have to pat down Pete or whoever else is on the episode with me. So let's be generous and say 50 seconds there. So in total, the entire time it takes Nikki to get ready to be on camera is 125 seconds. And sometimes though, I do feel like I'm missing out by not going downstairs to the makeup department and getting them to do it for me. But they're busy down there with people making Instagram videos and falling asleep while someone braids their hair. And speaking of the dangers of my hair, Rupert O'Fly asks the question, could you kill a man with your hair? Man or woman, Rupert, what have I done? I've taken the front bit and wrapped around a very thin neck to choke someone out. I've grabbed someone's face and just shoved them on the top of the crown until they suffocate. And one time I got really Japanese horror film, got it wet and let it just slide off my scalp down someone's throat. Little known fact, I actually need a license to wield this bad boy. All right, Fishy Tales is next. How do you guys decide what games to play and what proportion are from local game developers versus the big game companies? Fishy. Look, there's no real decision made about what we play each week in the sense that we don't say, oh, we haven't looked at an EA game in a while, or we haven't seen an Australian game this week. We just play what looks interesting to us, or games that I may not traditionally play, but we know I'm gonna have fun with, or that we know you guys are super into. We try to strike a good balance between indies and bigger stuff, but generally it all comes out in the wash. Giant studios aren't putting out games every day, and we play 4 or 5 different games a week. And we love supporting Aussie devs and their games. A recent one I adored was Armello, and in the next couple of weeks we'll be looking at a horror game from a local dev. One of the great things about Australia is we're making some really awesome mobile games, and we're actually carving out a really nice little niche for ourselves there, which is great. But in terms of Pocket, those games aren't necessarily the best ones for us to look at. Crossy Road by Hipsterwell is a great game, and part of the appeal of that game is that after 20 seconds of playing it, you get it. You understand the game in its entirety, and it's about a score chase after that. Same goes for Thumb Drift by SMG Studio, then there's Dime Studios, Mighty Games, Love Shack. These are all great devs making awesome games, but not necessarily the kind of games that can sustain a 15-minute episode of Pocket. That's not to say we're not playing them though. We are. In fact, I'm playing Thumb Drift right now. And this ice track can melt in a fire. All right, moving on now, and our final question is more of a suggestion from Daniel Solaris. Show more nipple. Sure thing, Daniel. Here's a possum nipple. And that's it for today's episode of Pocket. Pocketeers! Have you ever been in the awkward situation where you've needed sustenance from a mother possum? Let us know in the comments. And while you're there, please let us know what you're playing this weekend. And also, while you're on the internet, check out Good Game on Facebook, YouTube, and iView. Want to meet fellow Pocketeers? Then join the Pocketeers Facebook group and Steam group and Possum Nipple Appreciation group. You can follow Good Game on Twitter at Good Game TV, follow Pocket at Nick Possum, at Pierre Possum, at GG Edit Nipple, and at Sam Possum. And there are links to everything I just said in the description below. Today's Thing of the Day graphic was made by Binary Code. Thank you, Code. If you've made a thing, please send it in. Until Monday, nipple out. They're weirdly long.